I think what parents need to look at is the school.
Okay.
So the curriculum is only one aspect of what is being delivered, but the school is also one of the factors that they need to consider while making a choice. And there are many things that make up a school.
Today we have with us Ms. Adi Lakshmi Chintalapati, a very distinguished leader in the education sector for over 3 decades now. She has worked in both Indian national curriculums and also international curriculums, right from kindergarten to grade 12. She is a vastly experienced IB consultant and also a workshop leader for IB Educator Network, having done multiple events in more than 10 countries. Her career includes leadership roles in reputed educational institutions like Oak Ridge International School and also advisory roles to schools like Canary and RP Goenka. Very welcome to the podcast, ma'am, and thank you for joining us today and looking forward to have an insightful conversation.
Thank you very much, Nishanth. Thank you to Co-School for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here and speak with you about the education scenario. So it's really my pleasure and privilege.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'll start with your professional journey as such. Over the years, you've transitioned between various roles, right? What motivated you, especially for one transition? I was very interested to understand from classroom teaching to leadership positions in schools, and how have these transitions kind of impacted your perspective on education?
I was always interested in teaching. I have a bachelor's in home science and a master's in nutrition. So we had a lot of community nutrition. We also used to have the childhood education preschool practice curriculum. And so I think, that the innate interest in teaching was always there. I didn't do much of classroom teaching at school level.
Okay.
I only taught about 2 years in a preschool.
Okay.
And that's my area of passion, early childhood education and then primary education. So leading to that, I also trained in the Montessori method of education and then the Waldorf. So I was faculty and principal at a teacher training college with Osmania University, and that was for about 10 years. So that is when, so it was mostly like university level teaching, which I did. And then I went on to join Oak Ridge. So that was the next stint. And at Oak Ridge, I joined as a headmistress. So that was a leadership position right from the start. So essentially, my teaching career has been with adults about students and child education. Yeah.
I mean, that's very interesting, ma'am, because your interest mainly lies in early childhood education, whereas you've taught adults. So that's like a whole span of education spectrum. So I've heard a lot of talks you have done on early childhood education. You've also written an article on it and also emphasized on its importance. How do you think parents and educators can collaborate effectively to kind of help the children in these formative years? What's your thought on that?
So, I mean, that is a given that, early childhood education is any education actually, even primary, middle school, is a partnership between the child, the parents and the educators. So, but the partnership needs to be closer during the early years. That's because the learning is so continuous and skills are being built, knowledge is being reinforced. So it doesn't stop with the school. Parents need to know what's happening, and so it's very important that the learning in the classroom is documented and shared with them. Now there are many ways, there are platforms that you can use where teachers can record pictures or videos, and even work samples can be scanned and shared with the parents. But it's also important for parents to continuously be present in the program, visit the school as and when required, and be part of the learning journey of the child. So,
Right.
because there will be conversations that will happen at home, which will continue to enrich the learning.
Yeah.
So we look at the parents also as, resource providers in the
It's part of the
in
part of the journey.
yeah, the learning. Yeah.
That's great, ma'am. And also you've touched upon the impact of parents, right? And getting it back to the school part, you've actively worked in international curriculum schools, and also you've been the workshop leader for IB Educator Network. You've also done IB and also advised Cambridge kind of schools. What are some of the challenges you felt to kind of align these international curriculums to the Indian educational landscape? And how is it happening now? Are you satisfied with the alignment?
Yeah, so I mean the if you're looking at the Indian curriculum, whether it is CBSE, there are some schools which are offering the ICSE as well.
Yeah.
And then the state board. A lot of it has gone through revisions and enhancements. So we have the new NEP, which is also being used in classroom transaction. So there is that focus on holistic education. There is the focus on building of the skills, which is true with any international program as well. Whether it is the Cambridge or the IB, the focus more there is on the skill development. So less on content and more on building the skills. So the pedagogical approach varies in the sense that it's based a lot on inquiry. It's based on developing critical thinking skills and communication, which is also there in the national curriculum. But there is more freedom and flexibility in the international curriculums.
Okay. Just a follow-up question on the curriculum part, ma'am, because a lot of parents would be watching this episode, and me as a parent also would be curious to know how this happens. So I would want you to suggest how parents can evaluate selecting a curriculum for their kids, and what is the importance of that factor in selection of a school?
Yeah, so that's a very relevant question, and I think it's on the top of the mind of every parent. All curriculums are good. They are designed to support the learning of the children, and so whether it's the state board, there's CBSE, there's ICSE in the Indian context, Cambridge and IB. There are other international boards as well. So the point is that these curriculums have different focus areas. So particularly with the international curriculum, the pedagogical approach is more of inquiry. It's more an activity-based approach, and looks at the development of the skills. Like critical thinking, creativity, communication. There's greater focus on that. The Indian curriculums focus more on the content, which is also important, and they prepare the students for the Indian universities that they have to go for. So it's a choice that parents can make. I think what parents need to look at is the school. So the curriculum is only one aspect of what is being delivered, but the school is also one of the factors that they need to consider while making a choice. And there are many things that make up a school.
Absolutely. So you've traveled around the world throughout the career, right? Your work has taken you to numerous countries. So how have these international experiences shaped your approach towards, let's say, curriculum development or teacher training in the Indian context?
So I think what initially when I would travel, I visited classrooms in different countries, I was really wonderstruck by the way the layout of the classroom would be, and some of it I would not understand. But slowly I've seen that if you look at the Indian teachers, they are very talented, very hardworking. They have a lot of drive, a lot of initiative. So we find that we have really good teachers in our schools in our country, and so is the case with teachers across the world as well. But the difference would be that we need to help our teachers bring in that differentiation in the classroom. Our classrooms tend to be more towards teaching to the whole group. The struggle is in bringing that classroom management which is required for more personalized learning. So that's something that we need to build on. And this is what a lot of training helps the teachers. So basically when we look at the teacher training, I always like to look at Simon Sinek's circle of the why, the what, and the how. So most training programs would focus on the how or the what. What strategies can you use in your classroom, or what can you do when you're teaching. But if we take the program more to the why, the reason, the philosophy behind why we want that kind of a change in the classroom, why we want to bring this shift, because it's a mind shift.
Correct. Yeah.
You have to get a mind shift. So when you want to change that, if you enable the teachers to understand that this is the purpose behind what we are suggesting and this is the change, then they have more agency in that matter, and it comes more automatically.
Okay.
So so that's what we try normally through our training programs, is look at the purpose and the reason for that and bring the mind shift.
Great. I mean, that's a wonderful answer, ma'am. Very insightful to know. I mean, just continuing on that topic, because you've done multiple teacher trainings across the world and also as part of the IBT Educator Network. What do you think, are there any skills which the teacher should hone? Because the education landscape is evolving very rapidly. I mean, and what should be they adapt to? And also, do you think schools have to allocate time and also budgets to train the teachers as part of their professional development?
No, that's so necessary, because if you're looking at the Indian context, teachers most of the teachers would have gone through a different system of education in their own schooling and maybe university. We don't even have very good teacher training institutes which would prepare them well for the role that they have to play in the classroom. So it naturally falls upon the school to provide them that training and enhance their capacity. So this is very essential. It's not just that one odd workshop. It is a continuous process. Building this skill and knowledge within the teachers is a continuous process that schools need to take up in developing that capacity. It's done through a range of workshops, having even teachers sharing best practices between themselves, and we have having collaborative planning sessions, and like you said, allocation of time. All this takes time.
One of the most important.
So allocation of time for this training. There are also now online sessions that are available, so that is something that is really helping them. But continuous development of capacity is very, very essential.
Great, ma'am. And also, I mean, touching upon one very important aspect you also emphasize a lot on is the technology integration in education, right? So just wanted to understand, like, I'm sure a lot of even our guests in the other episodes have pointed out that schools are increasingly trying to adopt technology to kind of make it more experiential, more engaging. But how do you think we can balance out use of these digital tools with the traditional classroom teaching so that we engage the students better without causing any digital fatigue to them?
Yeah. So this is, I think this is an eternal question which has been coming up. So 20 years ago when we started, and at Oak Ridge we were known to be a smart school.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were, I think, one of the early schools to adopt computers in the classroom. It was desktops at that time, no laptops. We actually trained the teachers. We had training sessions in how to use the different applications, and we brought them on board. So the resistance was not there so much, but then over time, there has been this, resistance from parents because of the number of devices that are getting added. So I think, the important thing to look at is that how do we best use this, both for teaching and now there's artificial intelligence, and there's so many ways that can be applied in learning. A lot of it is used by teachers for their teaching, for their planning, for school leaders, for their own data analysis. But also we need to be aware of how the students will be using that. So the important thing is to embrace technology, not to resist it, but to set up those guardrails. And it's not just what I've seen now happening a lot, particularly after COVID, is that many parents of young children don't want the schools to use gadgets.
Yeah, correct.
So they are initially at least some kind of tools were acceptable, but now they say that children are using a lot of it at home, so we want to reduce the screen time in school. Which is almost like throwing the baby away with the bathwater, So this is happening a little. What we need to understand is that we have to have some policies which will support the school, the parents, in regulating this, the use of technology. I think about road rules. So I'm sure that, when someone rode a horse, they didn't need a license. You just needed to know how to ride a horse.
True.
But when you want to drive a car, there's a particular age and there's a license, and then we teach children about road rules, and so you have traffic signals. So you have all this protection for life and safety. But the digital devices have come into our world with it's just blown into our world, and we don't seem to have enough strong policies on. So it's either some countries go the whole way and say no screen at all, or no social media at all. But we need to have strong policies, because if you expect, so it's hard for parents also to hold back, because some of the work we expect students to do on the devices at home, and in school as well, we want to use technology because it has so many benefits for learning. It helps to personalize the learning, it helps to pace, it helps to provide a wide range of experiences to the child, which is not possible just through the textbooks or manipulatives that you have in the class. So there are those possibilities, but we need to have good policies which will help us to balance the use. And I think communities, government, everyone must come together to help the schools and parents in taking this forward.
Great, ma'am. I think that is one very important topic you've touched upon. I mean, in terms of how can we make the screen time more quality screen time than the quantity. I think quantity is what is the parents being bothered about. But if you can make it as regulated and quality as possible, I think that's a good point. And so just on building up on the student aspect, right? You've also emphasized a lot on holistic education, and I'm sure IB is already miles
Yeah.
ahead in that part as to how do we develop these holistic skills like creative thinking or problem solving or even let's say resilience and all these kind of aspects which will be important for the future of work.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I think how do you think these kind of skills can also come into our Indian curriculums, both as a part of the curriculum itself and also as part of these teaching practices which are there?
It is there already. I mean, the way in which the they're identified. First of all, we identify the skills,
Yeah.
and like you said, it's some of these are so important that children develop resilience.
Yes.
They learn to be courageous, critical thinking, all these 21st century skills.
Correct.
So important. So the first step is to identify them, and then after that, make sure that they are being enhanced in the way that the teaching is happening in the classroom. But many of these have to be modeled
Okay.
and they have to be lived. So it's not possible to just speak about them.
Just teach them. It's more like they have to.
Yeah, you have
it.
to walk the talk. So
Yeah.
they have to see that in the environment. Like, when I think about my childhood, my father was in the Air Force. He was a pilot. So when we would go to any new city, like he would get posted, and then like we went to Chandigarh, and he took us around. He drove us around the city, and he'd give us a map and said, you have to find, and what, we were like all of 9 years and 10 years, find your way in the city, know.
Great.
Or if we went on a road trip, he would sit us down and say that, okay, we went from Delhi to Hyderabad by road, and he said, this is the map, and this is how we are going to travel.
Okay.
So I think because he was always, navigator in that way,
Correct.
he helped us to think through that process, and also gave us some agency in the planning.
Okay.
So what we need to see is that that gives you resilience, it gives you, it helps you to make an informed choice.
Correct.
So how do we help children to make an informed choice? Is when we give them that voice and agency in what we want them to do, and that is how skills will develop.
Right.
That we help them understand why we are saying what we are saying. So teachers, when they're teaching in the classroom or even in the other activities at school, will be constantly looking at how can I ensure that this is instance I'm developing critical thinking.
Right.
Like I'll give you an example. Like even if you're on the basketball field, a typical coach would actually show the child, how to stand, what's the stance, where's the D, how to shoot.
Yeah.
But if you allow the child to just explore, try different ways of shooting.
Yeah.
And see what works best for you. And the rules will come later. But allow the child to explore. Then the child may find his or her own way of approaching that shot, So we have to... So the very important thing is for teachers to release, to let go, and allow children to explore, to take ownership of their learning, and listen to their voice.
Great.
That's important.
I mean, that's a very strong message.
Yeah.
Not just to the teachers but also to the parents. I mean, because we also as parents kind of do a lot of things for them. I mean, we not let them explore. I think that is something I've also learned today. Thank you so much. So, I mean, since you've touched upon your father being in the Air Force, I also want to slightly digress the topic into the personal front as well. Throughout your career, I'm sure there have been many mentors who've influenced your professional journey. Right, ma'am? Could you kind of tell how that influenced your entire vision for education?
Yeah, I mean, it may sound very cliched, but essentially, like I said, my parents, particularly my mother, my father was out so much, but my mother was quite a big influence in the learning process, So the way she gave us this freedom to think and do things initially. And because we grew up as Fauji kids, we had to take a lot of challenges and we had a lot of adventure. So that was one thing I think which developed resilience and more courage to change tracks, do new things. And then also, in college we had some professors who were really good mentors. And that was something that, like I told you, I was interested in teaching right from there. But then coming to the Oak Ridge, we had our directors, Mr. Nagaprasad, Mr. Rajshekhar Babu, and then Mr. Shomi Das, who was really great teacher. And just watching them, learning from them. And also I think that what they provided me particularly, I could see was the freedom to take some risks and make some choices. And we knew that we had their back. So some of it would fail. But we knew that, it's okay if we don't make the same mistake again. But we are learning from that and we are getting better. Then that's okay. And I think that is the same thing that I have tried to do in my role as a leader. That, working with the team, helping them understand what are their strengths and areas that they can build on, but also letting them take a chance, letting them take a risk and supporting them along the way. And then reviewing what went well and what didn't, so that we build on each thing.
Got it. That's amazing. I mean, that's a good lesson for emerging leaders like us as well. Also, just was very curious to understand because I think in our conversation very recently you've said that you've been the founding principal of a school completely. Like you've started it from leading it from scratch, Oak Ridge Pachpally branch, and it has grown pretty big now. I mean,
yes, I know.
How was that experience, ma'am? Right from let's say 0 to 100 kind of a journey.
Yeah. So, Bachipalli, I was the founding principal. At Gachipoli, I was the founding headmistress.
Okay.
So that was also a start.
Okay.
And when we started the school was when Mr. Das had suggested that we do the IB. PYP. And I had no idea.
Okay.
So none of us had any idea what it was, what the program was. But again, he believed in us, and so actually having to explore. And the program was in its very nascent stages in India. I think we were one of the first schools to initiate that program. But because of my experience in the other progressive methods of education and the fact that I was heading a teacher training institute before, I was able to bring that understanding together because we had to marry the two, the IB with the CBSE, and create our own curriculum. So that is something we did. And then once we had established the school, then I moved on to Bachupalli. Again, it was a totally new campus. There was, again, you're building from the scratch, and so what we've always had is selected some teachers and we take them on a picnic. So before we started the Gachibowli campus, we had all gone on a picnic to the campus and seen what it was like. It was a fruit farm before the building was made. And the same thing at Bachupalli. So I took this group of teachers that we had selected and said, let's go see our new campus. And they were actually just being constructed. And then from that stage, we... I think the building the trust and faith in the parents, that's the most important thing. That, they trust you with, they take a risk on you, they take a chance on you. and they trust you for what you're going to be able to offer their child.
Yeah.
And that's what is required, and that's what works.
Great. And you also authored many educational materials, including some primary textbooks as well for multiple publications. How was that experience? What does it go into authoring a particular book, especially textbooks? I mean, that's very interesting.
So it's, the funny part is that in the PYP, where we advocate the use of multiple resources. And we generally don't use textbooks, because we are, the expectation is that the children will use a whole range of resources and come up with their own study material. But then also I've been interested in developing curriculum material for other schools, and in that I was approached by some of these publishers to build textbooks. So then what I thought was that, how about bringing all the benefits of a holistic curriculum into this textbook. So, using multiple intelligences, making an activity-based approach in the book. So that is what we designed.
Great.
How can we make the books more engaging, follow the guidelines. These are mostly national curriculum books. So follow the NEP, follow the guidelines. But at the same time, make sure that skills are being developed and children are having fun. So that's how it worked out, and it's been a joyful experience.
It's great, ma'am. So, looking forward, let's say for a few years down the line, what do you think some of the innovations, changes that will become an integral part of the education sector, and how do you think teachers and the students can kind of be prepared to make these shifts?
So what I'm seeing is change is happening very quickly.
Very rapidly,
So it's too rapid. To keep pace with it is something that is quite challenging. But what I'm seeing as innovation is this whole aspect of artificial intelligence coming into play, and the ways in which it can be used, and the opportunities that is providing students for learning. So the learning is getting more and more personalized.
True.
So when that is there, and when you can learn by yourself, it already happened with YouTube videos. A lot of people just choose to pick up a YouTube video and then learn a skill or gain some knowledge from it, and so do many students, and we use them in the classroom as well. So the same thing is, but artificial intelligence, you have ChatGPT, you have all these other applications, and they're getting better and better by the day. So I see going forward, we'll have to embrace this. Teachers will have to embrace. Currently, a lot of them are using it in their own planning, in their teaching, but also to know how the child will be using it at their end. And so the role of the teacher will shift. The biggest thing is that the teacher has to do is how to provide the provocation, how to keep students motivated, because personalized learning can happen if the child is motivated to be a self-learner.
True.
What do you do about all the other children who need to be guided and who need to be supported along the way? So for them, that's the very important role that teachers play, along with the social and emotional connect that they have to bring to the classroom. The group dynamics through different group activities, peer learning. So there are many aspects to it which will continue. But this is something that, and so we need to support teachers. In, again, like, we spoke in the beginning about the training. So they need to be trained in how to use these different ways of learning, and be aware of what their students will be doing.
Yeah.
So it's not about fighting the change, but embracing
the
it.
change.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing, ma'am. And before we wrap up, I wanted this to end with any message to the budding educational leaders who are coming up, both in the school space and also in the tech space, in the tech space. If you have any message for them, that will help a lot of audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is that we continue to look at what is changing, and we need to be the change that we want to see in the world, just like Mahatma Gandhi said, So we are role models. We need to first imbibe
Yes.
those qualities. So we need to walk the talk and model it.
Got it.
And then that will be the best way in which we can send out the message that we want to.
Great.
So we need to be the change that we want to see in the world.
Thank you so much for that message, ma'am, and thank you for joining us today. It was a very insightful conversation, and we've gone deep into a lot of aspects, and I enjoyed a lot talking to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I've enjoyed this interaction as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.